So do you find right now you're asking people to look into what they think our role should be, United States role should be? Are you finding a lot of people saying that, well, really our role right now should be here? And, I mean, we really need to concentrate on the education, on the health care, and, re-cement our foundation. Mm-hmm. They seem that they're leaning that way, as opposed to thinking about maybe we shouldn't worry about our role in the world until we maybe handle some of the situations here?
You would think that, but surprisingly not. I think where it comes out is the people we've spoken to want it, whatever we do, to be pragmatic. So it's fine to keep your ideals, and we want to. And a number of people, for example, last night's forum with the Diocese of Las Cruces and people improving communities through organizing. That forum, people talked about things that are in the news, like the global warming, that we have to lead on that. We have the capacity to lead on that. We have the energy and the creativity to lead on that. The role of the military. People said we don't want to be the world's cop. We don't want to be the international policeman. But there is a role for the military to intervene against genocide or atrocities. So a number of those kinds of themes have come out. So still maintaining the American idealism that we have a role in the world, that we're somebody that can do this sort of thing, but also let's see some results too.
Very good. We're going to take a break here in a minute. We are talking with Will, and I'm going to mess up your name again, Will Ferroggiaro.
Perfect.
We're talking about international and how the United States can be viewed in the future by the world and what it needs to do. I want to remind everybody this hour we will be giving away a New Mexico Lottery Spring Bling Scratcher, so stay tuned.
Keith Whelpley's taking your calls at 527-4570. Be a part of Southwest Senior on KSNM 570.
And we are here. We are brought to you by Mountain View Regional Medical Center, El Paso Electric, and Jones & Company Jewelers. Before we get back to our discussion about the United States and where its place should be in the world, let's try to give away some lottery tickets. This is for Spring Bling Scratchers, and I'm going to read a question. The first caller who can call in and answer it. Now, we're not going to pull you on the air, so don't feel like you're not going to call because you don't want to come on the air. I'm just going to ask the question. You call in with the answer, and somebody off air will deal with that. But the question I've chosen to ask to win these scratcher tickets is, who brought fame to the song Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend? She sang it in the 1953 movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. So the first caller who can tell us who brought fame to the song Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and she sang it in a 1953 movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, will win scratchers. So give us a call, 527-4570 or 1-877-576-6570. And we are back talking with our guest, William Ferroggiaro, and that's the third different pronunciation I've had of this name. But you've got a real interesting job. And I think on the phone we discussed a little bit about, many of us see so much disconnect between leadership and the citizenry that they lead. And Ahmed Ahmadinejad is one. You see this very angry man who hates us. But then I remember after the 9/11 attack, their people were very sympathetic to the Americans and what had happened. Yet when you talk to the leadership and you see this leadership, it's sort of like there's a complete disconnect. And I know if people looking at the United States, they probably see the same thing. And it sounds like what you're trying to do is sort of bridge the gap between the leadership and the people that they're leading.
Yes, exactly. And one of the goals, the first goal is to get people talking, having kind of a national conversation on America's priorities in these communities, and try and build, and then not have these forums be one-offs, but in fact have the groups that host them. In this town, again, Monday's forum was the League of Women Voters and American Association of University Women. Last night was the Diocese of Washington. I'm sorry, Diocese of Las Cruces. I'm from Washington. And then Friday is KRWG and the International Relations Institute at New Mexico State. So to have these groups actually continue holding forums and build some capacity so that we expand the number of people who are talking about this and getting there and having this dialogue and in fact building bridges within their own communities. So, for example, if one group holds it and sees another group and says, on this issue, we might be able to hold a forum together, whereas we don't see much common ground in other areas, or we do very different things in our missions. So the second kind of goal of this, aside from having this conversation and building it amongst the country, is to, in fact, build capacity of groups in our country to speak on these issues outside of your quote unquote experts, at Harvard University and in Chicago and wherever, but expand the number of voices that are speaking on this. And so that's a key goal of this.
Now, Rick, you're from Rockford, Illinois, and I consider Rockford, Illinois, a very solid blue-collar kind of town, although I'm sure there's just as many white-collar, if not more. But it's sort of a bellwether for the real middle American. What do you imagine those people would say if asked the kinds of questions that Will would ask? What do you think they would say about America's place in the world?
I think right now they're, with the new administration and what this administration is trying to do outside the world. I mean, not to choose political sides or not, but there was a lot of people that were almost just were not happy with the way we were being perceived in the previous 8 years. People were expressing their anger with, listen, we're really not that way. We're being perceived as a nation that really is looking out for its own simple goals and really not trying to help the rest of the world. Whether that was true or not, that's how we were perceived. And the average American in Rockford isn't that way. They want to engage. They want America to lead. And they felt that we kind of lost our voice, or the voice was being muffled. And so I think they're eager for this type of project. I think with the last election, Obama would say, I don't want you to vote for me. I want you to work for me. And engage and become engaged. And the little networking he did seems very similar to what you're trying to do. Now, you had a forum, and you'll have one tomorrow night with the international relations people. Well, then you anticipate that they're going to continue to have forums. So that's how you build. You walk into town, you have 3 forums, and you're gone. But you're really setting them and giving them the seeds to continue to have forums and get more voices involved. And I've always felt that we need our citizens to be citizens.
Yeah, that's exactly. And we're going to try and stay. I mean, we're a small organization, but we don't want to leave this. We don't want this to be a one-off and leave town and nothing come of it. So just the other day, after we had the forum with the league, we were already plotting about how do we build on this, and I will stay very much involved in that. And whether I can afford to fly back out to Las Cruces is another thing. But it is, just to get back to your point, Keith, about people feeling the need to have kind of a stake in all this. One of the things that's come out in the forum is kind of the obstacles to that, and people see the news media is one area where there's an obstacle, just the proliferation of just commentators without a lot of information.
That's rampant. I can't believe it.
It's rampant.
And once it's out there, it's ketchup out of the bottle. You can't put it back in.
That's right. I mean, you brought that point up about Iran and its leaders and being helpful toward us after 9/11. In fact, most people don't know that Iran provided intelligence information to us about the Taliban. And this is if you follow this stuff, and that's what I do. My training is in foreign affairs, so I follow that. But most people don't because of this kind of lack of in-depth reporting regularly. And I think this is exacerbated by the decline, the failing of newspapers and so on. I think we're really facing some issues. I'll just point out one other obstacle which people have mentioned in almost every forum was the increased partisanship. And I know Barack Obama has talked about a common ground approach, but a lot of people said this partisanship, we're really missing kind of a sense of national purpose, and people really want to get back to that.
Very good. We're going to take a break right here. I'm sitting here with my co-host, Rick LaRue from Rockford, Illinois, and we're talking with William from the Fund for Peace and his workshops and town halls he's been holding here in Las Cruces. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. More of Southwest Seniors coming up on KSNM-AM 570.